The hardest thing I think is, when it's a Friday night and, you want to go to the movies or you want to hang out and have a glass of wine, which you're not drinking wine either. You want to reach for that potato chip or you want to reach for that snack and you're like, no cheat meals. You can't cheat. You can't. And I think to myself, wouldn't it just be easier just to
pop a
inject something in my shoulder for a week and just be turned off from food and just be perfectly fine to lose weight that way instead of going through the difficult challenge. I would say it's difficult, and I'd say it's far more difficult to put yourself through the ringer. Okay.
Welcome to the Womanhood Lectures, where we bring you topics on issues that matter to you, the modern day woman. I'm Yasmin.
And I'm Lyra. Please check us out on YouTube, Rumble, as well as Spotify. For more content, please like and subscribe. All right. So today,
what are we going to talk about today?
Well, today we are talking about Ozempic. Well, not just Ozempic. There's going to be a multitude of drugs coming out in the not so distant future that are going to be weight loss drugs. Okay. And why this topic came about is because I am on a weight loss journey myself, and I'm doing a fitness challenge. So it's 75 days of working out twice a day, eating a good diet. It's Andy Frisella's challenge.
Shout out to Andy.
Yes. And I love it. It's definitely improved. I'm 30 days in.
Okay.
It's definitely improved how I feel. I am a lot more energetic, a little bit tired at some points of the day just because I take on a lot, but my energy has skyrocketed.
Okay. So
overall.
Overall. Yeah.
And for the first couple of weeks, I was like, this is tiring. I just the hardest thing I think is, when it's a Friday night and, you want to go to the movies or you want to hang out and have a glass of wine, which you're not drinking wine either. You want to reach for that potato chip or you want to reach for that snack and you're like, no cheat meals. You can't cheat. You can't. And I think to myself, wouldn't it just be easier just to
pop
inject something in my shoulder for a week and just be turned off from food and just be perfectly fine to lose weight that way instead of going through the difficult challenge. I would say it's difficult, and I'd say it's far more difficult to put yourself through the ringer. Okay.
Yeah.
So the topic came up about Ozempic. So I did, of course, reach out to my doctor and I said, hey, just wondering, would I be a candidate for Ozempic? And she's like, well, you have to have, I haven't seen you. She's like, I haven't seen you in forever.
Okay.
But you have to have a BMI of 33 or above.
Oh, girl, you're not there.
No, I'm not.
No.
But there are people who are 33 and above. And I thought, how do they determine that? Like, what's the number? Wouldn't it be based on whether or not you are diabetic or on the, certain things that are kind of indicators that you might need to lose weight? But nonetheless, I said 33 and above. And I said, okay, is that just to be covered? Right?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
For insurance. So
right.
With my husband's insurance and my insurance combined, I wouldn't have to pay anything out of pocket for it. So, which is great. Some people don't realize that this drug is...
How expensive is it?
It's about $1,000, I believe, in the US. So
a month?
Yes.
Wow.
Per month.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
I think you can get some generic drug from China for $50 a week.
Oh, gosh.
I think some people have been doing that, and it hasn't been a good outcome. But nonetheless, this whole topic came about, and I did some research, and I actually read Johan Hari's book about it. And it was quite intense because he lost 3 stone, so close to 42 pounds, I would say.
Right. And that
over
was
that period.
Yeah. And he was on Diary of a CEO.
Yes, he was.
Right?
He was.
Yeah. Talking about it.
And I thought, hey, we're 2 women. You know what I mean? We work with women and we deal with women on a lot. I mean, this is a recipe for success for a lot of women, for sure. But it's also a recipe for disaster.
Right. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this?
So I'm as much as I consider myself a little bit of a lazy gal with certain things, when it comes to things like health, when it comes to things like, creating new habits, changing your life, transformation, I don't believe in shortcuts. I just don't.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's good for you mentally, emotionally, as well as maybe physically, depending on what this drug does to your body, right?
Right.
I think that part of what makes you really own your transformation, your change, whether it's weight loss, whether you're changing a habit, whatever it is, part of what gets you to kind of a point where this becomes second nature to you and it's something you can really own and be proud of is the work that you need to do to get through it, to get through the hard times.
True.
Right? You really can appreciate the things that you may have to go through or some of the habits that you have to change if it takes a little bit of effort.
Right.
Right. So I'm always really wary of, miracle drugs and wonder pills
and shortcuts
because somewhere along the way, I always feel in the back of my mind, you're going to have to pay for this in some way, shape, or form somewhere else.
Okay.
In your life.
Fair enough.
That's sort of my blanket statement for most things. So I don't know. I mean, maybe this is a miracle pill and maybe this is, or injection, and maybe this is something that has very little side effects. I don't know. But I never really trust, first of all, new science. It's not so new. It's been around for like 20 years. Obviously.
It's not new. Yeah.
But things where you don't see a lot, like the long-term effects, like just, I don't know.
The unknown.
It's the unknown. And when everyone's hyping something up and tons of people are doing it, I'm just always a little bit cautious.
Right.
And I just want to see what happens.
I think it's a blessing in some respects, simply because our society is, unfortunately, 70% are either overweight or obese. So we've moved in that direction because of the content of our foods and the stuff that's in our food, right?
Right.
Also, our social life and the way that we are socially as human beings. Like, we're not as active as we should be.
Yeah.
And the way that we live our lives, we're very closed, quick fixes on the phone. We've talked about this on several of our episodes, how, our society has changed so much. And it's almost like we're just kind of just going with the flow. We're just robots here.
Yeah.
So what's taking a little, and then, going on with your day and functioning like this, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like we're not looking at root causes here.
But 50% of people would take it. I'm
not surprised.
They would take it.
It doesn't mean it's good, but I'm not surprised.
But the weight loss is quite significant. So, when you're losing 23 to 25% of your weight.
That's wild.
That's massive,
in how
right?
short a time? How short a time would you say?
It depends on you, but it generally would take like 6 months to a year, I would say. Okay. But it's just it's a slower process, but it's to the individual. Like, if you have more weight to lose, then obviously, you would have some benefit right away in terms of weight loss. But there's side effects, right? Like, first and foremost, let's just talk about like the benefits of it.
Sure. Okay.
So right away, diabetes is a problem. So that's originally why a drug like this was even created in the first place. It's generically known as semaglutide. Semaglutide, I'm pretty sure I'm saying it right. And what it does is it actually just stops the signal in GLP-1, which is a peptide. Yep. And it stops the signal in your stomach, in your gut, as well as your brain. It actually does affect your brain. Okay. To stop eating. Okay. So you're
just have no appetite.
Faster.
Oh,
you're satiated faster. You
okay.
You kind of have a little bit more control over it. Okay. You're not hungry, so you don't wake up hungry. You're just like, you lose that hunger. Right? Okay. So we were talking about the benefits. So people who are taking it, diabetes dramatically reduces, close to 92%.
Okay. I mean, it was originally created as a diabetic drug, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So it's meant to treat diabetes.
Yes.
And so it affects your satiation.
Yes.
It affects insulin as well. Is that right? Insulin production?
You produce more insulin in order to break down food. Yeah.
Okay.
bottom line is, you know, and when we were talking about it earlier, we were talking about obesity. Obesity has so many things that are that happen to you when you are obese. You're going to have a list of things that could potentially happen to you.
Your risk level for all types
of diabetes, of osteoporosis. Yes. Your chance of dying, coronary heart disease, hypertension, all of it goes up.
It's elevated for sure.
When you take this drug, all of those decrease. So we're not going to go into
the chances
all the details
of developing, right? But that's linked to the weight.
Of course.
That's really
yes.
That's really, you know, the waterfall effect of being obese.
Right. So it's the option of go to the gym and, you know, eat well and focus on a diet, because diets do work. They just work over time.
Right.
And it's really a matter of, can you stick to it and can you make it a lifestyle habit? Right. Or you take this pill that you're potentially going to have to take for the rest of your life in order to maintain it, because, you know, bottom line is once you stop, you know, most people put the weight back on.
Okay. As with many diets, right? As with anything that you might start and then stop at a certain point. So so let me backtrack a bit. This is an injection, not a pill, correct? How often do you have to take it?
Once a week.
Once a week. Okay. So 4 doses a month is $1,000.
Yes.
So $250 a pop, basically.
Yes. That's in the US.
And that's basically for the rest of your life, I guess. I guess for some people, if they feel that that's the way to go, then,
but there are
and it works.
There are other companies who are actually producing a form of Ozempic.
Okay.
There's different brands. There's Mounjaro. There's actually a stronger one, which is called. I want to remember it off the top of my head.
But it's really a family of drugs.
It's a family of drugs
that is originally supposed to be treating diabetes.
Right.
And as people have been taking it over the last 20 years, it's being, you know, kind of further developed.
Right.
What people are noticing now. I'm just curious to know, like, what is this big explosion in the use of it now? I mean, it was created in 2005, right? Yeah. Suddenly now, why? Like, I'm just curious to know, what is the big push for it now? Has it been because all the stars are taking it?
Well, definitely Hollywood.
Yeah.
The name of it was Wegovy.
Okay.
And Triple G. So Triple G was the other brand. And basically what I want to say, because I want to connect to that thought again, is that there are 70 anti-obesity drugs actually currently being made.
Wow.
So,
oh my gosh.
You know, we're really in the preliminary stages of these drugs even being created.
Okay.
And there's going to be a point at which you literally can go potentially to a pharmacy and just pick it up and
just over the
counter
pick something up and just keep that up in your system.
Wow. Like authorization, say, from your doctor. But who knows? I think that's the direction we're going into.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And I can see how it would move in that direction for sure.
But bottom line is in 1960, in comparatively speaking, it's how many years later? 64 years later, right?
Yeah.
64 years later, we are 23 pounds heavier on average.
Really?
Yes.
Average North American.
Yes, North American.
Wow.
So bottom line is a drug like this could potentially change so many people's lives and the direction in which we're going.
Okay. I'm still not convinced.
I know you're not convinced.
I'm still really like worried about the risks.
Yes. Yeah. So the risks. Pancreatitis was one.
Okay.
That came up.
So inflammation of your pancreas.
Yeah. So 9 times likely to get it.
9 times. Oh my gosh. Okay.
You have Ozempic face or
Ozempic face.
This is
what
basically
is
when
that?
You like just feel like it's like your face falls or your butt falls.
Really?
You just have and a lot of it has to do with the fact that you're not eating, right? You're not.
So you're losing muscle mass.
You're losing muscle mass. So it's
as
like
well
sarcopenia,
right?
Yeah.
Oh.
So you're losing muscle mass.
Are you losing fat as well?
Of course you're losing
like
fat, but
everything.
You're losing muscle mass in the
Okay,
process.
so you're just shrinking away.
It's not healthy for you to lose muscle mass as you age.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
So It's very interesting. A muscle mass loss.
So you take Ozempic, you get the face, you get the butt, you go do a BBL, you're back on track. You get you get your fillers.
Right.
I mean, where does it stop?
You sound like a Hollywood star.
Where does it stop, girl? Come on.
I know, but you know what? It's going to help a lot of people. So you have to think about the people that actually need it.
Yes.
And the actual people that will have. I'm not trying to convince you.
I can understand the medical benefit. I'm trying to work
through the concept of it because as I go through my transformation and my journey, I realize that it is hard. Like, bottom line is,
it's a lot of work what you're doing right now. I'm in my 40s.
Yeah. It is freaking hard to lose weight, just generally speaking.
Right.
It's even harder as you get older. Everything freaking hurts. Like everything hurts. Okay. Yes. Everything hurts. It's like the day after you turn 40, it's like everything hurts and you just want it to stop hurting. And you're like, why?
Yes.
Everything hurts. You're tired. You've got kids asking you a million questions. Your husband doesn't do his own laundry. There's a lot of things that are just like,
we're past the Ozempic here, girl. But no, I hear you.
But I think the point is like you get to an age where you're just like, I want it to just be easy. Why does this have to be so hard? Right. And, we talked about like there's like the biological, psychological and social aspect to everything that we experience, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And there's predispositions that we have as human beings. So we have a genetic predisposition to be a certain way. I know if you look at, say, my family members or people in my family, like we're not all tiny and skinny. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I have to fight for that. To be that. And I have to work hard at it, right? Maybe harder than most people. So I would love a quick fix. I would.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm going to, because
but I mean, no judgment if you did. Just I would want it to be safe for you.
Oh, I absolutely love my journey right now.
Okay.
I know I'm complaining about it hurting, but it does hurt. I had to just acknowledge that. It hurts.
Do you need a massage?
I do. I even asked for one today. I was like, I need one. My back hurts. But you know what? It is what it is. Like I'd enjoy the entire experience. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I look at all of this and I think I told you, I don't want to be a skinny person. I want to be fit. Like I want to be just strong. Right.
Yes.
So the idea of losing muscle mass, I would just be like, no, like that's not what I want.
Here's the other point. What about the idea of losing, to me, the joy of eating? Well, like there's so much tied to food, psychologically, and mentally, that we don't realize we derive so much pleasure from food.
Yes,
it's one of the great pleasures of life for a lot of people. Right. For some people, they really overindulge, but there's something to be said about how food offers us comfort.
And that's actually a side effect. That's actually been a side effect. A lot of people are fall into a state of depression. I mean, at the end of the day, I think there's a certain.
So that's one of the side effects.
One of the side effects is depression. Like you're not as happy because you're not enjoying food.
Well, are you not enjoying the rest of your life? Like, does it actually depress some of your hormones, or maybe
we relate food to joy too. Like when I make a killer charcuterie board, I mean, it makes us happy, right? We're just like celebrating. We're just like having fun.
I'm thinking of it right now.
Or when you have dinner with your family, or Christmas dinner, like after Christmas dinner.
Yeah, food in my house,
and you just sit back and you
every
just
night
eat that food.
Every night,
of course,
is
but you
like
can't.
something.
You can't eat like that.
Like but it's the idea of how people come together and enjoy something together. Right? Like that's I don't know. I would probably get depressed going on something like that, where I didn't have the desire anymore. Like I feel like it would kill your desire in a lot of ways. So
I think it does. I think it does change it. I don't think you're going to be as hungry. I think you're more controlled. Hopefully in that time frame you're choosing to eat healthy.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But I'm all for something that helps a person go through the process. Like I know I just ranted about the challenge and how difficult it could be. But there are some people who it's harder for them. You know what I mean? And it's harder, and they're experiencing pain. they're experiencing back pain, or they're experiencing all these other symptoms that are associated with being
overweight or obese.
Yeah.
Obese, for sure. But once you reduced, say, to a certain level, would your doctor simply take you off it? Would you wean? Like, what is there? Is there a maintenance? Like, I would be curious to know about that, because let's just say you need to lose 50 pounds. You lose the 50 pounds, and then what? You need to keep this
But my
going?
question, I mean, just, basic science question. If you're using a drug that is going to basically help the signal to stop eating, okay,
when
you're not naturally doing it
right
at all. So when you spoke at the beginning, you said, you're not for anything that's unnatural.
Right.
That would be unnatural to have a drug that does that. So once you stop, where's your signal coming from?
Yeah.
Your body hasn't created it.
Right. Like you haven't developed that habit on your own.
No.
Outside of
So that's why I push for, I really do push for more of the exercise. Fitness. I think fitness is great. But also as we age, if there's one thing for certain is well, there's two things that are for certain, is death and taxes, but death is inevitable. If you're trying to live your best life until that time and until that inevitability, then you want to make sure that you're living it longer and you're living it, to the best of your ability, meaning you're mobile.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not going to fall
maintaining
and hurt
your health.
yourself.
Right.
Now, that comes from exercise.
Right. If you've got a flat butt from your injections, girl, and you fall.
Weight and getting stronger.
Of course.
And I always recommend to people in their 40s or 50s to say, go and work out, go and lift some weight.
Weight
it's going to make you
is
feel
very important.
Strong. You're going to work your center. And if you ever get injured.
And it's important for your bone health.
Absolutely. 100%.
It's massive. Yeah. Wow. I don't know. I guess we're going to be seeing an explosion of pharmaceuticals, spin off from here. I was watching 60 Minutes Australia.
Oh, yes.
The other day, and they had a whole show on Ozempic, and unfortunately there have been some deaths associated with taking the drug. People maybe a month in suddenly found dead at home or whatever, or maybe ending up in the hospital, usually related to some sort of gastric issue.
Pancreatitis, remember I told you about the increase, right?
Now, I'd be curious to know what the numbers are on right now. I'm sure that, that obviously with all the hoopla about it, no one's really going to want to be talking about the few people here and there that are obviously not making it through. But I think when I was watching the show, they were talking about, there's a lawsuit there. So there are families that are getting together saying this should not be used as a weight loss drug alone. Right. And it should not be used without, medical supervision.
Of course.
And it should really be related. It should be limited to, almost like, it really should be limited to people who have tried everything else,
right?
Let's say, right? And I would agree. There are, especially with things like, autoimmune disorders or heart disease, diabetes, like anything that is a chronic illness, lifestyle can definitely have a big impact. Diet has a big impact, and I get that sometimes it can be hard.
It's hard.
But the lifestyle changes are really needed. I think people should be looking at doing everything in their power before they get to a point where they're like, I have nothing else. Okay, we're going to try this. Right. I would hope that this wouldn't be the first thing that people turn to, because I'm just worried. I'm just really worried about what some of the repercussions are going to be long term.
I think it's going to be massively beneficial for our society at the current moment.
Yeah.
Do I believe that it's a quick fix? Absolutely. I mentioned to you the way or the direction that we're going to in our society is, all of our food is poison. Like at the end of the day, there's so much chemicals in our food.
Yeah.
So, the time that it would take for us to repair and fix our food supply, a lot of people could be saved.
A lot of people could be saved, but then what are we really living into moving forward?
Right.
If we're not looking at these root causes and we're not trying to address the actual underlying issues, which is lifestyle, culture, society,
100%.
food supply, like that needs to be addressed at the same time.
I think that
right?
I think that in itself is like a 1 hour conversation.
Yeah.
because bottom line is there are countries that are doing that.
Yeah.
And they're succeeding.
It has been done.
They do this in Japan.
Yeah.
Where, you know, they talk about it in the schools. The schools provide the food to the children.
Okay.
And it's all nutritious.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you ask them what their preference is for food, they'll be like, "Oh, I like broccoli." I'm like, "Okay, they like broccoli, right?"
Wow.
They're teaching their children, they're teaching, you know, their next generation.
Yeah.
And they're working on their current population to say, you know, you have to have certain health markers to say work in this company. You know, you get all these bonuses. Yeah, they do a lot of incentives for their population. Okay. And they also work on their food supply, which I think is not first and foremost, number one.
Yeah.
If you're full, if our chemicals in our food
are making us sick,
triggering us to basically eat.
Yes.
Which has been proven.
Or develop illnesses.
Which has been proven. There's actually, I don't know if you've ever seen that stuff circulating where they'll take a package of Doritos or a bottle of ketchup and they'll compare the ingredients to another country.
Oh, yes.
Have you seen that?
Totally seen that. Yes. North
Where
Americans.
we just have so much more crap in our stuff.
We do. We have a lot
like,
more
why?
chemicals.
What is it that we are doing, or why are they doing this to our food supply? Mm-hmm. Now, that being said, while I'm on this challenge, I noticed that there's a push towards or pushed away from certain foods that are actually beneficial to you. Our body loves protein.
Yeah.
Our body loves, you know, chicken and fish and beef and eggs and all of that good stuff. It feels more satiated when you eat protein and good foods that it wants.
Yeah.
So you'd be eating less of it.
That's true.
And it would be nutritious for you. It's kind of like when they tell you when you're in the grocery store, you walk on the outside of the grocery store. Like everything in the square. Yeah. Nothing in the middle aisles, right?
Right.
It's that same concept where... And the reason why is because you're full and your body's like thankful. It's like, thank you for feeding me.
Well, yeah. I mean, you need less and it's high nutrition, high impact. So for sure, your body's going to utilize it so much better.
Right.
But so are you still curious? What are you going to do?
I'm not going to take it. I'm just like totally. You know what? I'm a very curious person. So I want to see my doctor's reaction. I am going to go visit her.
Okay.
Because she's leaving the practice. So I'm going to chat with her about it and try to just get her opinion.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to like poke the bear and see if like, you know, she'll actually authorize it.
That's so funny.
But I'm not going to do it. I would just.
Like in Canada though, are doctors allowed to prescribe it just for weight loss?
That's a good question.
Because I wonder if it's really medically sound to do that here. I don't know. I don't know what. I think they would have to have a really good reason to do it, to be able to prescribe it to you, that it gets authorized under insurance. I think there's a lot of stipulations. Because it's not OHIP covered.
No.
Okay.
No, you'd have to pay out of pocket for it.
Wow.
But I think there's like I said, there's going to be a point where you could just go and buy it yourself for
probably
$20.
Yeah.
But I think by then there'll be a multitude of drugs out there for us to choose from. But yes, back to what we really need to be doing is advocating for changing, you know, our food supply and changing, you know, our behavior patterns and promoting fitness, you know, back in the day, because we're from the, what are we, Gen X?
We're the Gen X.
We're Gen X's, okay? We're Gen Xers.
Yeah.
Is it Xers?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah,
we're cool basically free-range children.
We're free-range children.
Yeah.
And back in those times, I don't know. Do you remember those commercials about participation and like?
Oh my gosh! Yes. That's crazy. Participation.
We used to push that. We used to push exercise,
just movement,
fitness,
exercise, get outside, play,
go outdoors, be
go
healthy.
Ride your bike, like whatever. Yeah. Really
Don't
simple
sit on
stuff.
your phone in your room staring at the boob tube. Like that's it. Like,
so you know what it is too. I think right now all the things that we're talking about are they're very unsexy.
Yeah.
Eat well. Go move your body. take care of yourself, like all the natural stuff, which honestly is easy once you just implement it into your life. It's a behavior just like anything else.
Yeah.
It's not very sexy, right? It's like you don't get this big impact, this big like, ooh, I took this for 6 months and look at me now. I'm like the swan. I just like woke up and you know what I mean? Like there's this whole, I feel like there's this whole movement in our culture where everything needs to happen immediately.
It's a shortcut.
You want to see, right? You want to see things right away. We all have ADHD now for some reason, and we just can't, we have no patience for anything. We have no patience to see anything through. And I think that's where I feel like I'm sort of, having the resistance for things like this.
And I've thought about that. So a couple things. I thought about the fact that I'm doing a challenge for a specific period of time.
Yeah.
And I thought about how when that's over, what will I do? And I said to myself, I think working out twice a day after that point is probably going to be a huge no-no. But I would like to continue on this healthy eating. What it is there's just like, I think human beings just don't like to be uncomfortable anymore.
Right.
And the problem is like you do have to go through this uncomfortable phase where your body's like, I want that sugar. I got that headache. My body hurts. It's achy. I feel like I have a flu. Like that's your body getting rid of everything from your body that doesn't want. Right.
Yep.
And it's just a sign. It's like when you get a fever, it's a reaction to something, right? Your body's reacting to you getting rid of all the garbage. And getting over that phase, once it's done and you've started a behavior pattern over a period of time, you start to realize that like, hey, it's over and I feel great. Like you start to see the improvements and your body's like very thankful. And then it starts to reciprocate. And that doesn't happen in a month.
No,
that doesn't happen in 2 months. It might happen in 6 months. It might happen in a year. But if you keep going, it's kind of like, do you want to commit or do you want to quit? Like, which one? Pick one.
Yeah.
So I think that's really something that's shifted in my focus this year is to say, hey, I'm here. I might as well do it and commit right through.
Yeah.
And if you're going to change that pattern, just try to see how that looks in the long run.
Yeah.
And I think as humans, we don't look at life that way. We look at it like, okay, well, I'm going to lose 40 pounds. I'm going to, pop this pill or go work out at the gym and do this for this amount of time and then never really think past that.
I think people are very, very stuck on the outcome, the short-term outcomes that they have from their behaviors. They don't really imagine what it's like beyond that. And I mean, that's just human nature, right? But we can train ourselves. You can work on those things, Yeah. I mean, your ability to sit through discomforting things in your life makes you super resilient.
Oh, 100%.
Makes you stronger.
It does.
It's, not that you want to sit there through trauma. What I'm saying is when there's something that's slightly uncomfortable for you and you stretch yourself and you see that you can do that, then that you're mastering yourself.
It's amazing.
You're mastering your mind. You're mastering your body. You're mastering you, which is an incredible feeling at the end.
Yes, it is. It is.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. So I push for that. I push for change.
Okay.
I push for change in our food supply for sure. And I know that's a huge project and it's a huge,
it starts at home.
I think so.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot of things that are just beyond our control.
True. But, I think we can I think people need to start really focusing on that. And again, like anything else, when something becomes a cultural norm or something that people really, there's a demand for it, then guess what? We get really creative and we start creating solutions to the things that we really want.
Right.
So we need to be focused on the things that we actually want instead of quick fixes. That's just my take.
Got it.
Yeah. Don't take it.
I'm not taking it. Yeah. I promise I'm
not. For now.
I just really and truly, I was just being curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Why not?
I love it. Yeah.
Kim Kardashian or whatever. Khloe Kardashian.
Go down the rabbit hole. Yes. Huh? Yeah. Go down the rabbit hole. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, guys. This was great. And just as a little caveat, we are not medical practitioners, so our opinions are simply our opinions here. Please don't, if this is something that's of interest to you, please discuss this with your own medical practitioner. if it's something that you feel that would be helpful for you. And with that, we will see you next time.